I'm Jamie.
And I'm Lo, and welcome to another episode of Try Saying That Out Loud, a podcast where we talk about weird, hilarious, and only sometimes consequential things.
It's our lives and our truths, unscripted and uncensored.
Sorry, kids.
Hello.
So I'm hungover.
I should be, but you know why I'm not? Because,
This is also the reason why I am hungover.
right. So, my Christmas present from Lo is the Uli. Is that how you pronounce it?
I think it's Ulo. How do you pronounce
You,
the U with the two? Should we look it up?
the
Like
umla.
I think
Isn't that
it's
the
no.
two dots? Does it have two
Yeah,
dots?
the two dot. Yes, over the U. I think that's a U sound, isn't it?
I don't
Ulo.
know. I don't know. In any event, we'll find out what it's actually called, but it's basically it's an aerator and also like a wine filter. You put these little filters in and it filters out the preservatives. Is that what it's
Yeah,
filtering?
the sulfites,
The sulfates, yeah, and
which
that's
is
what
like
makes you
very,
hungover.
yeah, uh-huh,
And
yep.
so you
Well,
can
that
just
and sugar if you're drinking white wine, but
oh,
no,
this was bad.
this is the best wine filter I've ever done. Like, and I've tried a handful of them, but I noticed such a difference. And I think I had 2.5 glasses of wine last night, and only the first one was filtered because Alex had more than I did, and he got like a little bit like overzealous and like stopped changing out the filter because it's like one filter
One
for one
bottle.
bottle. So
Yep.
like we had gone through a few with this couple, and outside masked, just so everyone knows, uh, and I was up at
Could
4
tell.
a.m. I was up at 4 a.m. up for 2 hours and
Yeah.
like managed to go back to sleep. But yeah, it's a thing. So that
Yeah.
wine filter is
It's
magical.
I mean, I had like I had gave Ben one glass and I had the rest. And I was not hungover.
That's amazing, right?
Yeah,
See?
it was great. And
And you
I
would have
don't
ordinarily like at least had a headache.
for sure. And I don't even drink that much. Like, people, I think for the pandemic, it's either made them drink more or drink less. I don't think
Yeah,
anyone has like sort of stayed the same.
right.
Ben and I have definitely started to drink less, which is weird. I like wouldn't have expected that, but we just drink less.
I think I've just started to drink less and Alex has not. I just like I can't sometimes I literally to me it's a choice between sleeping or having a glass of wine
Right.
because it can be so disruptive to my sleep cycle that I'm like
Right.
fuck it. I love sleep so much. I'm not willing to sacrifice. It's just not where I'm willing to go with that.
Nope, not worth it. Well, and also, like, if we only want a glass of wine, like, then do you waste the bottle if you don't drink it within a couple of days? It's like, why bother?
I don't yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. So anyway, Yulo, however the fuck you pronounce it if you're listening, sponsorship
Please
opportunity.
sponsor us. We love it. You already.
We love it so much. I like done what I'm gonna do. I guess you're right. There's a travel pouch with it. We can travel with it, I guess.
It comes in this little like box and it has a little like resting stand. I mean, it's very small. It's very compact.
Yeah, it's like this big. What, like this big all in, like
Yeah. I
height,
know that
and
if you're listening, you can't see what we're doing, but
yeah.
um,
Thank you for that reminder.
it's not very
I'm
big.
gonna be a little slow today, in case anyone was wondering.
It's not very big. But on a little bit more serious note, this is our first episode since the attack on the Capitol last week. No, a week and a half ago now. God, that's so crazy.
Feels like it's been a
Um,
lifetime.
our first episode of 2021 came out that same day. It's so the fact that we're in 2021 and we were like, oh, this is going to be like the greatest year. I read a tweet that was like, heads up, 2021 is just three 2020s wearing a trench coat, like stacked on top of each other. And I was like, yeah, that's what it feels like right now.
Accurate.
Right.
Accurate.
I
Well, the
mean, I
sun and
think
the moon shit too. Not to bring up astrology, but it's this year is 2021's kind of like it's like a slight reprieve from 2020, like energy wise, but it's supposed to be kind of like you're still like learning and revising and kind of abolishing old structures and the way you used to do things. So it's like kind of a continuation of 2020.
right,
So like maybe less intense energetically at times, especially as the year kind of goes on. But
right.
it's funny because yeah, I like am approaching 2020 with like walking on eggshell. Like, you
2021.
don't right. Well, yeah, fucking whatever fucking year we're in. I'm like, "Ooh, is it gonna be okay?" Like, I don't know. I'm
Uh-huh.
not gonna get too excited about
Right.
how things are
Right,
going
we're not gonna
because
get too excited about, like, making plans and try like, who knows
no,
when we're gonna be able to go anywhere or do anything. We're just kind of like, This is the status quo now." We're
right.
almost at a year since the pandemic started.
I
Can you
know. Isn't
believe
that
it's almost
crazy?
March? I feel like it's been March the whole time. That's just like, I just like, I feel
Like
like
a
time stopped at
perpetual
March.
march, just
Right.
like a never-ending
We're in,
march.
like, the 10th March. That's how I that's how I view
Yeah,
it.
yikes. That is gnarly.
Um,
But anyway, not to distract from the Capitol, but,
I
that
mean,
was
I
a
know that's
heavy, heavy
yeah.
day.
It's both of our obviously, it's both of our try saying that out loud moments. I mean, it was just I started a temporary job on that day, and I was in a meeting, um, and when I got out of the meeting, I had my phone had just blown up, and obviously everyone else's had too, and we just, like, were watching on someone's computer, like, as it was happening live, and it was one of those surreal moments that I think, like, when you look back and you're like, "Where were you on 9/11?
I was just gonna say that.
Where were you when JFK died?" Like, obviously, we were not born, but, like, those moments
No,
where
it's like a pivotal right, like, yeah, like Princess Diana. Like, I remember
right,
where
like,
I was when, like, Princess Diana died, which is not as big of a deal, but 9/11, that's what I was just gonna say, like, it's one of those, like, cornerstone
you're gonna
moments.
remember that for the rest of your life.
It was just, so I think I was just, like, doing schoolwork kind of deep in my computer, and I kept getting text messages, and then people were sending through videos and, like, friend of a friend of a friend, like, was in the Capitol building and, like, sending these videos, and I was like I stopped what I was doing, and I was like, "Okay, I have to watch the news because last
Right,
episode,
what's
I talked about how I was kind of having, like, a news cleanse. I was like, "Honestly,
surprised you're
it's
not
the
anymore.
same of as it always is, so much of the same." So I'm just like, gonna disengage. But I was like, well, this is the time you can't. Like, this is like it's so painful to watch, but it's like you have to watch it. I mean, you're
Right,
witnessing history, and
right,
whether or not the history is something you ever want to remember, it's a part of the our history now.
right. Yeah,
Can be written about in fucking textbooks. Um,
literally.
but I remember, so my try saying that out loud moment is I think I started watching the news shortly before they had footage of
Inside
the
the
one
building.
leader, yeah, inside Nancy Pelosi's office, and how he had written
Unbelievable.
like "We will not give up," and had his shoes and like a gun in his belt, and
Holster.
I literally started crying because I was like, can you imagine how afraid all of those people were for their lives? And then
Right,
I had a moment of not genuine fear for myself, but I was like, well, I mean, like, who knows? Like,
right.
I
Who
don't
knows what's gonna
feel
happen next?
right. And I'm lucky to be in California, and especially where I am, I'm like very insulated from a lot of those, like, well, not
Right.
totally insulated. I have quite a bit of my family that are a little bit on the QAnon train, but
Ick.
um, but a little bit more removed. Anyway,
Right.
but then I had this. My reckoning was like I started to get very frustrated with people, and a lot of Black influencers started bringing this up on Instagram. But like the idea, like even President-elect Biden said, "This is not America," and I just literally was screaming at the TV, "But this is fucking America! Like, how are
Right,
you? No, like this is what it is. We're seeing it. Like, it may
right.
not be the
It
America
has
you
been,
want to see,
but
and
this is
like
it.
that's a different thing. Like, say this is the America I do not believe we really are. Like, we need, or, like that we can be better than this. We need to rise
Right,
above. But I
right,
was getting so frustrated with that. And then I had this moment of being like, okay, so I'm like crying because I'm like afraid for these like senators' lives. And I think I've always had a fear with Trump throughout his presidency because he's talked about, I'm going to get a second term and then I'll try for more terms. Like, I always had this
right.
feeling that he was like trying to upend democracy. And
Same.
so part of my fear was like, oh, this is it. It's my
This
worst
is
fear
what's happening.
is happening. Like, it's happening. But then the other part of it was I was like, then I got really upset because I was like, dear God, like Black people and people of color are often this afraid in their daily life
Every day.
every fucking day. And I was like, okay, so I can have I was trying to reconcile, and I know we kind of talked about it. This like, I'm allowed to have my tears because I am an American, and this
Right, you're
was an
allowed to
attack
have
on
your
democracy.
you're
Like,
allowed to have your
that was
feelings.
scary. That is scary to be like, oh, could I raise a child in a place that's no longer a democracy? Like,
Right,
what? Like,
right,
that is a crazy thing. But then also realizing that like everyone's pain is different, right? Like my pain is like so much less than someone else, Black person of color,
Right.
Jewish people being attacked with
Right.
fucking Camp Auschwitz. Like, luckily,
Unbelievable.
right, like my last name is not obviously Jewish, but it's Polish. But I'm kind of like glad for that. I'm like, but that's like, how scary is that? Like, it's not even
Right.
me. It's not like, it's not in my blood, but like a relative, like
I
family
mean, right.
members.
My
So
last name is
everyone,
Jewish.
yeah, it
Like,
is. It's like, so it's, I don't know. I, in my head was trying to reconcile. I'm like, okay, is my pain, like, I don't want to delegitimize the pain I felt watching that because it was horrifying. But I'm also like, take a step back and realize that, the flavors of pain and how everyone experiences this is going to be so different. And
right.
for a lot of BIPOC, like, it's like, well, this is
This
kind of
isn't
okay,
different. This is
welcome.
another
Yeah,
day.
they're like, welcome.
Right.
And it's mortifying. So
Right. It
I
really
don't know.
is.
Yeah,
I
it
mean, the
just was
way, and we talked about this too, but kind of the way that I was struggling with it, and my initial reaction when something like this happens is sort of word vomit and just like sharing as much information as possible and sharing as many resources as possible. Um, and not that my platform is so big, but like once you like, are growing thousands of people that are watching you, I feel like you do have some sort of responsibility to say something. Like you don't get to like stand back and hide and be like, well, this account isn't about politics. This account is about books, or this account is about beauty. Like you're an American. It's about being an American.
right. Like, if you
Um,
would have posted about 9/11, I don't know if you brought this up, but if you would have
yeah,
posted about 9/11, like,
right,
okay, so that's, I mean,
right,
same,
right.
basically,
That's
except it's,
exactly what I.
yeah,
That's
like a
exactly
foreign
what I said.
invader versus on
There
our
were
own
so
soil.
many people that I used to follow. I'm like rarely on my personal Instagram account anymore anyway, but there are a lot of people I used to follow over there that I, thought like not that they're bad people now, but like thought, had the same values as me and have made pointed statements to say like I will not be posting anything political on this account. Like I will keep this a safe space, et cetera, et cetera. And it's like it's a safe space for who? And I'm positive you posted never forget on 9/11. So
Well,
like,
and safe space, honestly, when they say that they're doing it for
right.
themselves.
Obviously.
Uh, like, okay, define fucking safe space. And like, okay, none of our spaces are going to be safe if we don't have democracy. So like,
Right.
there comes a
Right.
time. Like, I get if it's like, in different circumstances when like politics wasn't the forefront of everything in our
Right.
lives. Like, I get,
Right.
like, you don't have to, like, okay, if it's like a little thing where you don't feel like it's, but when it's social justice or when it's literally an attack
Right.
by quote unquote Americans, I use
Right.
fucking air quotes because I don't believe any of them are patriots.
Right. Of
Um,
course not.
like, they're
But
the
right,
worst
like
kind.
to your point, I mean, I was not involved really in politics prior to Donald Trump's election. We had the privilege of sitting back and not having it affect us in any way.
Right.
And then
Yep.
all of a sudden Donald Trump was our fucking president.
Right.
So you were sort of forced to be like,
Not only that, but Donald Trump became president when it was supposed to be this historic, like, first
right.
female president. Like, it was a double whammy, especially
It was
for
a
women, I
gut
think. You're
punch.
kind of like, whoa, okay, so like, not only is America not ready for a female president, they are literally ready for like a fascist leader.
Right. They prefer
Cool.
that to a woman being
Cool.
president.
Right. Sweet. And I know a lot of people are like, we didn't know Trump was going to be that bad. I'm like, I
Yes, you
just,
did. Like I like you did. Every business he has is bankrupt. Like why did you think he was gonna like all of a sudden be a
I don't
great
know.
person
I
to
can't.
lead a country?
Yeah, I cannot with the, yeah, I don't. It would be, I would be very hard pressed to find something about someone that voted for Trump a second time that I was
I
a
was
fan
You read my mind. Ben and I had this we have this conversation like fairly frequently. Um I know like seriously thank God, and like I'm not a religious person, but like I am so thankful that my mom and my sister and two of my best friends who are like at least conservative. I don't know if they consider themselves Republicans, but at
Right.
least conservative generally voted for Biden. Um like, and I know maybe to them that's just like a symbolic thing, but like to me, like it could have permanently damaged relationships. And like I'm just so thankful that I didn't have to have those conversations with them and that they were they, in my opinion, did the right thing and weren't like, I want 4 more years of this. Um,
Yeah.
I'm at the point now where, you reelected or wanted to reelect him. If you voted for him a second time and then saw what happened on January 6th and you're still behind him, which there are definitely people, I'm sure there are people that I know that voted for him again, saw what happened on January 6th and are still pro Trump. I don't think you come back from that.
No, that is it. Mm-mm. And then you can't, like, at that point, you're like, okay, so
So what would it
the
take?
irony for me is that the Republican Party, and I feel like we've talked about this, is based largely on like very little government intervention. Like, let people
Right.
do what they want to do, like no government. And the irony of like where it's turned in this like Trump Republicanism is he wants all like you may think that you're getting no government, but he literally wants to have a dictate. Like he wants to, like
To
what?
make
Like
every
it's
decision.
right.
Right.
Like I'm like, okay, so how does that make any sense at all? Like that's
No, it
like I
doesn't.
anyway. So I can't reconcile. I
Right.
I'm part of me. I'm not grateful for what happened, but I'm interested in what happened because I've always been concerned about Trump trying to come back in 2024.
Same.
And I'm finally like, I will first say, Lindsey Graham, Mitch McConnell, I see you, and I will never forget what you did. So don't try to recover your image. But at least people are speaking out against Trump
Right.
and what he did. And they're trying to like, I'm like, okay, so if there are two divisions of the Republican Party, like I'm not mad about that because I think
Right.
our party system is like, I don't
Broken.
think it's right. We were talking to someone the other day and he was born in Sweden and spent like the first 5 years of his life in Sweden. He's like, there are like 18 political parties. So when you're voting, you're not like, and there's not a game of like who's raising the most money and has the most
Right.
resources. It's like that is true democracy, right? Like you
Right.
actually have a choice. Like we are given one or the other,
Right.
basically, in
And,
a
like,
lot of
the third
ways.
party means nothing. It's a throwaway vote, and it, generally
Right.
benefits the Republican in that way.
It's just, and I don't know how it's just interesting to me because the political atmosphere is going to change a little bit. And I hope it's for
Mhm.
the better because I hope that, I don't know, we're never probably going to get rid of parties in my lifetime, but like we need a little bit. There's got to be, I
A
don't know.
shakeup.
Yeah, I don't know. The political game is not my favorite
Yeah,
game.
well, and the other thing, I mean, like I said, when we were Ben and I were talking about this, um, the reason we were talking about it is because Chris Cuomo and Don Lemon got into an argument or, like, a debate apparently on his show, where Don Lemon was saying, like, if you never wanna be on the side of Nazis and Klansmen, like, if they voted for Trump a second time, like, you don't wanna be behind those people,
Right.
um, and Chris Cuomo was basically arguing the point of like there are probably people that voted for Trump a second time who aren't irredeemable and that was the dichotomy. Don Lemon was like there aren't, like if you voted for Trump a second time after all of this happened,
It's
like
literally like voting for Hitler.
yeah, I mean, I'm
I
just
mean, that's maybe like really over dramatized, but there's that. I don't remember what the year stamp was, but there was a time like they were equating Donald Trump coming back in 2024 with like the time it took Hitler to get to
to come
power.
back.
So I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, I don't know.
Well, and that's I
It's
hope
really sad too because these people that are storming the Capitol, these terrorists
Mhm.
storming the Capitol, are deeply unhappy people, like
Right.
deeply, deeply in some way, shape, or form, whether or not like they acknowledge it. They're like very unsettled, they're very upset, and they feel like they felt like Donald Trump was going to make them happier or like feel like their voices were heard. And so part of
Right.
it for me is I'm like, that's really sad that they like this is, I don't know. And I mean there's no making sense of it. It doesn't make any sense. I always try to like think about like, okay, these are human beings that are really struggling and like, whoa, like we need a mental health evaluation ASAP.
Right. Well, and the other thing is I read something that like you could, no like race is a monolith. No one like has every perspective like nailed down, but
Right.
there was a perspective that like terrorist is actually not a helpful thing to call them because the majority of people assume like Muslim, people from
Mhm.
the Middle East are terrorists. So when you use the word terrorist over and over again, they feel like it gives the government um, sort of like free reign to add more anti-terrorism laws, which target BIPOC people, which I thought was an interesting
Oh, that
perspective,
is really interesting. I
which
didn't think about
it would
that.
never have occurred to me. Um,
Never.
and so, but at, at the same time, what else do you call these people? Right. I
Right,
mean,
they're domestic terror 1000%.
right. I mean, they came in with zip ties to kidnap
So I
people.
was listening, this was fucking wild. So Alex and I, so the QAnon shaman guy, his lawyer was on Cuomo, I think one of these day, like recently. And the lawyer was trying to tell Chris that he came unarmed. And I was like, dude has a fucking spear. Like he's on Game of Thrones
Right.
walking into the fucking Capitol. So I don't know what the fuck you're trying to say that he wasn't armed. You psycho. Alex was like, yeah, I mean, if someone came up to me with a spear and was demanding to get through a door, I'd probably
I
let
would
him fucking
move.
through the door.
Right.
I
I
don't
would
want to get
move.
I don't want to get impaled. Like what?
Right.
It's just yeah, those scenes, I mean, it literally felt dystopian.
I mean,
I don't wanna bring up, like, Handmaid's Tale, but, like,
no, but
Handmaid's
like
Tale.
actually Hunger Games, like Attack
Yeah,
on the
uh-huh,
Capitol.
yeah.
It's
Same
the
thing.
same
Yeah, I didn't
thing.
even think about that.
Yeah,
Oh.
I know. Well, and another like I don't know if the weird is the right word, but these are the people that are Blue Lives Matter,
Bizarre.
and then
Clearly, they don't matter.
they
The
don't
man
matter.
getting
They're attacking
smashed in the
cops.
fucking yeah.
Right.
The like, man on man, like, combat, like, some of those oh god.
It was really, really gross, really terrible. I mean, it's really all I've been thinking about for the past couple of weeks.
I'm just like, if that like, a Black Lives Matter protest wouldn't have even made it to the
No,
steps without
absolutely not.
there
And
being
there's
tear
so many
gas and
people,
rubber bullets and people dead, like, the
and
fact that
there's
5 people died from this one,
it's unbelievable.
unbelievable.
Right.
Like, they should not have lost their lives, that is true, but it would have been a massacre.
Well, and they're portraying the one woman, Ashley, I don't remember her last name,
Yeah.
um, who was killed inside the Capitol. When they describe her, like, they're, like, describing her as, like, a veteran and all this stuff, like, they would never describe someone that died at a Black Lives Matter movement that way.
No,
They would
they wouldn't
describe
give
him
a
as a
fuck.
criminal.
Right. He was a veteran, but he took a wrong turn or
Right.
something fucked
It would
up, you know? Like,
right.
it would have just been like, yeah, it's disgusting. So I just yeah, we need a I mean, it's gonna be really interesting. This year's gonna be interesting. I'm terrified for the inauguration. I mean, I'm
I'm
seeing
really
these
scared.
videos of how by the time you guys all
It
hear this,
happened already, so
it will have happened, but, um, you know, I'm seeing the videos of what they're setting up and, like, all the restaurants being boarded, and I mean, Amen. Like, I'm glad in a way. I'm like, at least we know now that that
right,
inauguration had to be on triple times 5 lockdown
right.
because it's terrifying, but,
Well, and now, so Parler got taken down.
yeah,
Basically, Apple took them out of the App Store, Google took them out of Google Play, and Amazon Web Services basically was like,
won't
you
support
can't
them
host your
anymore.
website. So
Yeah.
they're basically dark. Um, and part of me is like, well, good. Like they can't plan this, but like, of course, they're going to find another way
No,
to
I was
communicate.
listening did you listen to that daily episode
Yes,
about
right.
Telegram and yeah, Signal
They're
and
gonna
all
find
those,
another
like
way to communicate, and now we can't keep track because they've splintered so many different ways,
yeah.
and how do you find them in an
You hope,
encrypted.
though, that, like, the splintering has kind of caused them to have a little bit like, the daily episode was it Fridays or Thursdays?
It was yeah, it was
Um
like I think it was Thursdays.
Yeah, so, like, last week
A
Thursday,
week
for those of
ago,
you
yeah,
listening. It she was describing it as, like, some of the people were literally frantic because they were like, "Someone give me directions. I need to
right?
know, am I supposed to go? Like, what is going on?" But you guys, they're literally it's so planned. It is so like, they're like, "How do we get XYZ weapons across all these state lines?"
Right.
I'm like,
Like, these aren't
"Cool."
all of these people aren't idiots. They are, like, looking up laws to find out which weapons they can take across state lines legally. They're planning their routes. They're saying, like, "If you're from here, don't get on a plane because this airline isn't letting you check weapons." I
Well,
mean,
no,
it's a
not to mention, was it Anderson Cooper that made the comment? He made like a joking comment about like they're all gonna go back to like their like Applebee's or whatever, which is like he like chuckled, and I'm like, okay, Anderson, probably not the thing to say. I like giggled a little, but like whatever. Not to mention, Megan McCain actually brought this up in The View, and I watched a couple of episodes this past weekend. She was like, there are lawyers and doctors that are in these like these people
That's
are not,
unbelievable.
it's like not, yeah, it's not a monolith like we always
Right,
say. Like this is not a monolith. Like you're
right.
not, it's not just like the quote unquote hick town or however you think of the middle
Uneducated
of
people.
nowhere. Right. It's
Right.
not. So that's also where it's like,
That's
okay,
terrifying.
like, yeah,
Well, and
it's
the crazy thing is it is taped to high heaven. Like, there are photos everywhere, there are videos everywhere, no one's wearing a mask, so you can see everybody.
right.
Like, if you're a doctor or a lawyer, you're gonna get disbarred and you're gonna lose your license if
I
someone
just,
is able
yeah,
to place your face at that scene. I don't understand why
yeah, I
you would
don't,
do that.
I mean,
Like,
but I don't understand brainwashing. So, like, I guess, I mean, these people have been brainwashed, right?
right,
In
it's a
so many
cult.
ways.
Right. Well, and at this point, I'm hoping I mean, I don't know exactly obviously, Pence isn't going to use the 25th Amendment like we all kind of hoped he would. Um, and I don't think that there's gonna be a Senate trial before Wednesday. And there
No,
was
it would
some
only be
talk
after, right?
yeah, well, there was some talk of, like, doing it, in the 100 day after Biden's first 100 days so that he could, actually, like, do some things that weren't, an impeachment
That's
wasn't
my question, though.
overshadowing.
Does Biden have that much to do in an impeachment process? I mean, it goes to the Senate now,
No,
right?
but right, but, like, he needs the
But he
Senate to do
wants to
other
go,
shit.
yeah, he needs to pass that, like, relief plan,
Right.
1.9 trillion or whatever dollars.
So that was the discussion, but impeachment, I think, if I'm remembering correctly, it prevents him from running again if
Right,
he's
well,
impeached
they
and then
can make
convicted.
it specific, right? Like, they can
Right.
tweak it so that he loses. My big thing is, and I told Alex, and I was like, "Do you want your tax dollars?" Like, you talk about taxes all the time. "Do you want your tax dollars going to pay for Trump's Secret Service and, like, his, like, travel
Pension?
stipend?" Fuck no. Like,
No.
no thanks. Nor, and then they could also prevent him. I just didn't
That's the
realize that
biggest
you could,
one.
I just didn't realize they could do the impeachment proceedings in the
I
Senate
didn't
after he
I
was
didn't
already out of
either.
office.
Which is what I mean, it would have been nice if he, like, didn't have his last 2 weeks in office, but if it prevents him from running ever again, I mean, that's the thing that matters.
Right.
Although, like, he has now created this Trump dynasty. He will throw Don Jr. in 2024 if he can't run. I mean, I think
I
that's just
just,
what's
what do
gonna
you think is
happen.
gonna happen with the pardoning of his kids, speaking of Don Jr.?
I don't know, he has 3 days left. We'll know.
And they sometimes they announce it, like, the day before the
Right. I
inauguration,
mean,
right?
that's they,
Like
wait
a
till the last minute to
strategy.
do mass pardons. Um,
Is he gonna be able
and
to pardon himself? It's
like,
done
what I
before, right? It has been done one time?
no, he's no
Oh,
president has ever pardoned themselves.
got it, okay.
They pardoned family members. So I mean, everything I've read is obviously it would be a question of first impression, but, like, there's nothing that, like, specifically prevents it. I bet you that law gets passed after if that happens. Um, he could also resign on his last day and have Pence become the president just to pardon him if he felt like his
Do you
pardon
think
wasn't
that's
quick enough.
realistic? Because, yeah, I guess that's, well, but in a Trump mind, is it better to, it's better to resign, I guess, than have Trump? Because I was also thinking Pence could have done the 25th Amendment and Trump could have still gotten the same outcome, right? If
Right,
Pence would pardon him. But I'm trying
right.
to think for Trump, what is the least embarrassing thing?
The least embarrassing thing is him not resigning and him attempting to pardon himself, I think,
Yeah, I think so
and
too.
hoping
I
that
don't
works.
think he's gonna resign. Like
Right.
I don't see him quote unquote giving up or whatever he probably thinks it is.
Right. Yeah. I think that I mean, and I do think that he will pardon his children. Um, well, and the interesting thing is you generally can't pardon for, like, crimes that aren't
Federal.
well, no, you definitely can't pardon for crimes that aren't federal, but you can't if there is no crime or there's no like, they haven't
Right.
been
You have to
charged with
admit you've
anything.
done something.
Correct.
Right.
So, like, by being pardoned, they're like, "Yeah, we did it." Like,
I know. And it's gonna be so, I mean, so
just
interesting. I don't know.
right,
It's gonna
but
be a
so
very interesting way
I
to
do
unfold.
think that if he doesn't run again in 2024 or isn't able to run again in 2024, that a Trump will run, and it will most likely be Don Jr. Like, I think Ivanka is gonna go hide for the rest of her life.
You think?
I mean, like, she used to be we all in 2016, we thought she was gonna be the savior. Like, what a joke. We were all
Well,
like
I didn't think that. I was
I
just
did
like,
think that.
bitch better, like, keep her dad in line. And I knew very quickly that that was not going to happen.
Right. Well, I mean, and
And
a
I
lot
was
of her
very glad her business has failed, sorry to say.
same.
Like,
Same.
bye, bitch. You have no like, you are not a feminist.
No, no, holding up a can of beans. No, I think she was in a lot of, like, pretty liberal circles in New York and, like, has no friends now. Like, that's my understanding. I mean, and her brother-in-law, like, Jared's brother is married to Karlie
I was
Kloss.
just gonna say, Carly Kloss has made, I think, a comment before on her. I don't remember where I read this, but she was just like, "Yeah, we can't. Like, I cannot, and
Right?
don't even try to talk Like, but I
I
think
would just never
there's
speak to them.
definitely a riff. Yeah. How would you? I
Like,
mean,
imagine marrying into that. Like, I mean, obviously, she's not marrying into Trump, but, like, Kushner to Trump. I mean,
right? I mean,
it's
yeah.
very close. Like, you're gonna see them. Yeah, I don't know, man.
It's
I
fucking
just
gross.
hopefully, by the time you hear this and you'll know what happened at the inauguration, hopefully it went off smoothly without a hitch, and we're ushering in a new era. I'm
I have
hoping that
a serious question.
yeah,
Not that none of these questions are serious, but how do you feel about the arguments of censorship and I ask this because obviously, like, we've talked about, like, what freedom of speech actually protects, and, like, the closures of Twitter and Facebook and, kind of shutting down these extremist groups.
and
Um,
Trump.
and Trump. But is there at all? I was listening to someone kind of talking, not a Republic. I don't even know what political party she affiliates with, but she brought up a good point that it's like it is a little scary to think about these privately owned companies being able to censor people in their
Mhm.
freedom of speech. And I don't agree. Like, if it's violent, if it's like, like, we're not allowed to yell fire in in a club, like in a theater or whatever it is, people are going to freak out. So if I
Right,
can't do that, then I probably shouldn't talk about the weapons I'm going to bring to a capital. Like,
correct.
there's a very fine line. But do you think that this unlocks any, I guess maybe from a legal perspective, any weird precedent with regards to censorship generally?
So I've thought about that also because I have seen a lot of Republican argument that is like, okay, so, if they're gonna censor these people and they're gonna censor Trump, like, what's next? If they're gonna enforce these policies, fine, but you have to do it on both sides. Into my like, fine, but, like, what Democratic leaders are, inciting violence
It's
and
an apples to oranges comparison at this point.
correct. We haven't seen any Democratic leaders that have done that for Twitter to be like, "Okay, like, we'll take you down too."
Right.
Um, it is a little bit scary, like, apparently in Uganda, they just take down all social media during elections. They, like, don't allow it. And Twitter came out in response to that and said, like, because obviously they were shut down in Uganda during the election period, and they were like, we don't support that, like, we think that, like, it should be
It's like too
open
inflammatory. Yeah.
open internet, and so it's hard to say, like, yes, I mean, it is censorship, like, it's that is the word, that's the correct word. It's not a freedom of
Definitionally, right.
right, um, but I mean, I just have a hard time because who are they censoring that or who are they, kicking off that they shouldn't be kicking off, right? Like
Right. Like, it's hard for me to yeah, because like, my moral argument is like, well, they even if they weren't a private company, they would not be protected. Even if it
right,
was a government organization, they would not be
they're not
protected
protected.
on free speech. Like, look at the fucking article.
Right,
And so for me, it's like it's hard for me to think about, but it is, I mean, it's a fair point. It's like we're kind of setting this precedent for like these private companies to be deciding what is okay.
right.
And like, how does that, I don't know. I mean, you
No,
want to
it's a
hope that
hard
these companies
question.
are doing the right thing, but then again, it's like playing devil's advocate. Like, just because what I think is the right thing doesn't mean, you know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
Well,
it's a
and
spiral.
it's because, to at least to some extent, Facebook and Twitter have aligned with our view of what should have happened. Like, we
Right.
think that Trump should be kicked off, and we think that, the people that were planning their attacks on Twitter and Parler should be kicked off. So, like, we agree with that. But the people on the other side are like, well, like, what happens when they kick me off for doing XYZ? Like, that's their thought process is, they don't agree with it. Um,
Yeah.
it so there are a bunch of people that probably feel disenfranchised and feel like they don't have a place to
Like,
go.
afraid to say anything because afraid of what, like, they think the
Right.
government's gonna do.
Right.
I don't know, it's,
Uh,
like, part of me too, so, like, I guess I never thought about these platforms kicking Trump off entirely. I'm gonna be the first to admit. I didn't actually I just wanted there to be a little bit more of a check and balances on, like, the truth, and, like,
right.
if social media and Twitter is the way a lot of people get their news, and, like, Trump is spewing these lies, there needed to be some sort of balance of that, where it's like,
Right.
"Okay, but this okay, factually, here's" and I know, you can only do so much, but I don't know. So that I guess admitting I don't know that I ever thought that that should have been within their power to like remove him from the platform, except when it becomes like, I mean, these are like terrorist cells, like planning attacks.
Right.
Like that needs to be quashed. They cannot be given air to breathe because,
No.
like, that's not. I mean, what would you do if it was a foreign invader? Like you kind of it's like just
Absolutely not.
just because
Right.
it's foreign and domestic, they're
Right.
literally
It
same
doesn't
thing.
matter.
It doesn't matter. So I don't know. So I mean, because I do think it creates more upheaval and it gives those people
Fuel
that
to the
feel
flame.
disenfranchised, yes, makes those people that are feeling disenfranchised even more
I guess
like
the thing is with at least with I never saw any of I assume he posted the same stuff on Facebook that he posted on Twitter. I assume it was, kind of like a shared thing whenever he tweeted went onto Facebook.
mhm,
Um, but I feel like there were maybe it was accumulation. There were I mean, he violated the terms so many times
so many
and
times.
and eventually Twitter started like marking his tweets as like this is not factual, this is not factual and like kind of hiding them so people couldn't see them. But by then the damage had been done. He has millions and millions and millions of followers, like probably almost 100 million. So by the time he tweets and by the time Twitter gets around to like making his tweet private so
Mhm,
that no one can see it, millions of people have already seen it. His
right,
followers have already seen it. They probably get notified. So I wonder how much of that is how many times did he violate, how many
right.
times, and then there was an insurrection that was incited by him, and then they were like, "We're fucking done. You're done
Right, like
fanning the."
blocking you entirely versus, like, we can't manage your tweet storm anymore. Yeah,
Right.
that's totally fair.
That's
Yeah,
my
it's a lot to, like,
well, and
keep an
every
eye
social media company, like, they were waiting for someone to do it, once
right.
one person d
It was,
one
like, the approval.
right, it was like, "Okay, so someone did it, and, like, now we're all gonna do it."
Right,
Um, and I think Twitter was the first to do indefinitely. That could be wrong. It was either Twitter or Facebook, but initially it was, like, a 2-week ban. I think that was, like, to be post-inauguration. And now I don't know if Facebook is indefinitely, but Twitter is indefinite, like, you're done. You can't get back
right.
on this platform.
Yeah. It is just interesting.
Yeah, I don't
I mean,
know.
it was the right thing to do, I think, because it's so dangerous, but
Well, and think about it, like, if he, if he wanted to run in 2024 again, he couldn't, like, spew lies on Twitter about and, like, more misinformation because like, they would just have to go back to the same thing, or if he wasn't even running, he could just be making shit up about what's going on in the country, making things up about Biden, making things up about Democratic senators, like, whoever else, and fueling the flames of a potential second civil war, which is what these people want.
I know.
Okay, so pivot. I know you've been kind of not kind of very busy with school and it's kind of taken over your life a little bit. So what's going on?
Yes.
How's it going?
Gladly taking over my life, but no, it is, it's I had, like, a little couple week break, and so I've been trying to transition back into actually doing schoolwork again. Because I for a couple weeks, I literally was just, like, handling things around the house, and it was kind of nice. Um, no, but school's good. I think that I'm gonna start and I brought this up on social media and Instagram. If people would be interested in like sending me health topics, I'm by no means an expert in any of these
Yet.
things yet. Yet I know yet, but I love to share what I'm learning, and so I thought it'd be a good way just to like
It's
bring listeners
perfect.
into the fold and hear what health topics they're interested in. I also can like do deep dives if I don't know about things. And this is not to say like this is my big caveat. And as a lawyer, you're going to be proud of me. I am not a medical professional.
Yep.
So
There you
please
go.
consult your doctor or your health practitioner. These are just like little
Your
tidbits of
tips.
knowledge, right? Just my tips. I'm
I love
no,
it.
not yet like a certified
Yeah,
nutritionist
but
by
yeah,
any
that's
means.
the thing. It's yet.
Yeah,
I
but
can't
it's
wait
the
until
goal.
you
It's the goal. And so we'll see. But anyway, so take all of these with a grain of salt. But I got a handful of questions, and I thought one of the first ones that was interesting and a really good way to kick off this segment was, what is a holistic nutritionist? Because you see like
so many
RD,
labels.
registered dietitian, nutritionist, holistic nutritionists. So it's hard for me to say entirely because I've never worked with an RD. I also have seen a nutritionist in my time, and my nutritionist actually went to the same program that I'm currently going to. So she's technically holistic as well. But the main difference from what I have gathered in my program so far is that RDs, so registered dietitians, or, kind of like a RD path nutritionist, they a lot of the times base their recommendations off of the FDA, the Food and Drug Administration. And the FDA has their kind of own set of rules that, as I'm learning and engaging in all of this like holistic stuff, I'm finding like some of their requirements and recommendations are not always entirely spot on. So one that's kind of alarming to me is, and I saw it literally, it was like a Harvard study, or like a Harvard often does these research things where they're like, okay, this is
Right.
kind of what we recommend for like a balanced diet. And they include like, they don't specify that like unrefined things are priority. They're like pasta, rice. They also say like skim milk, which actually like is not great at all for you. So
Disgusting.
they have some things, and that's Harvard, guys, Harvard. So there are some things where their FDA has some limitations. I think there's also like, it's really alarming, but labeling and how the FDA
Oh, yeah.
regulates that is really scary. So like if something says, you probably know like hydrogenated or partially hydrogenated oils are considered trans fats, which are like literally the worst kind of fat. It is fat that is so bad that even if you're getting good fats into your body, the bad fats like just
We'll take
destroy
over.
any benefit, right? So you're not getting benefit of your good fat if you're also eating trans fats at all, like even in small amounts. So but the FDA, you can technically say you're a no trans fat food as long as there's less than 0.5 grams per serving of trans fat. So you're still getting trans fat.
Right.
They don't have to say it. So you have to always read labels. But so the FDA, generally, so that's a difference too. So a lot of registered dietitians, and this is not everyone. I mean, registered dietitians can do their curriculum and then partake in,
Whatever they
holistic
want.
training,
Right.
functional medicine, and all whatever. So if you're working with an RD, just understand their background a little bit. Holistic focuses on kind of whole body health, and holistic also in this sense where it's like from soil to table, quite literally. So like holistic nutritionists are also concerned with environmental toxins and pesticides and those types of wellness practices that you can, integrate into your body that can
Yeah.
really help fight inflammatory diseases, which are basically the root of all disease. So basically, like, my program in particular focuses on like, there's not a one size fits all approach to nutrition. Every
Never.
person needs something different. Every person, like, you know, from a micronutrient perspective, like, might need different micronutrients, might not absorb certain micronutrients as well. Like, everyone's different. And so it's really just kind of tailoring the recommendations to someone's lifestyle and also what they're willing to do.
Right, well, that's such an important thing too, like, if you're you can have, like, the greatest holistic nutrition plan in the world, but, like, if you look at it and you're like, "I'm not gonna do this,"
Right, it
like
has to be accessible, and I mean, we talk about the monolith, but, like, the human body isn't a monolith, right?
right.
Like, and I think it's what I've kind of been learning in this program is, I'm like, "Oh, wow, so, like, I thought I was really healthy for a long time, and now I'm realizing that, like, oh, like, my keratosis pilaris is result of inflammation, probably. Like, that is my body's way, and I know you have it too, but that is
Yeah.
my body's way of trying to eliminate toxins the only way it knows how. So my liver is probably, like, not loving me right now. So, like,
So
something is going on."
what is the like, is there, like, a kind of food that causes that? Because I will immediately cut it out of my
No, and
diet.
see, that's the thing, it's different for everyone. So it could be
Bummer.
inflammation, yeah, like, often, like, it doesn't even have to be just like a food allergy. You could have, like, your gut microbiome could be kind of scant. So you have, like, digestive issues, not
Yep,
related to the type of food you're eating, but related to, like, how your gut bacteria is able to, like, help your body digest it
yep.
appropriately. So, like, there are all sorts of things. You can have, like, gut microbiome imbalances, food allergies. I was actually going to ask you if your KP has gotten better with
It
your
actually
diet,
has. It
right?
has
Because
gotten better.
I notice when I drink wine
It
that
gets worse.
uh the
Int
next
well, and we
day.
talked about rosacea getting worse too when you
Yep.
drink wine.
Uh-huh.
No, I have noticed it getting better, and I also started this isn't, like, food related, but I started do you know the brand Necessaire?
Uh-huh.
They have, like, a body serum, and I started using it, and it, like, is really good. So
Oh, is
I've
it
been
good? And that's a good brand too, really, really
mhm.
clean.
Yeah,
Um, anyway, so that's basically, I mean, that's like a long way of saying that holistic nutritionist is honestly not that different from a regular nutritionist. RDs just tend to like you kind of go through med school a little bit and then you like double down in diet, which
right,
MDs get like 10% of their entire curriculum over however many years they're in school is nutrition. So they're just not given, they don't give the
right,
time to it because there's so many other things that, you know, they're focused on. Um, so that's it. So whole body approach, soil, like all toxins, everything. So it's really just kind of like a wellness umbrella a little bit. But then I got a question, and it was very timely because I actually this is like literally what I'm learning as we speak. A general question about chronic illness and diet.
like, if they're related,
Yes. Oh, yeah, 100%. So basically, what you find, or what I'm finding in this program, and you know, you can find studies everywhere, but the root of all chronic illness, and chronic is obviously defined as something that like is persistent for many, many years.
right,
Like you can be stressed, and then you can have chronic stress, and chronic stress is that's when like you know you're gaining adipose fat tissue in your middle. You're like you know there are all sorts of you know things where your body physically changes that you can see.
right,
Um, but everything comes down to inflammation in some regard. So there are good inflammatory responses that our body needs, and then there are inflammatory responses that go haywire and can cause autoimmune conditions and all sorts of varying reactions to your body. But from a diet perspective, I think that the main things, and you know, obviously, it's hard to tell people like just change what you eat because I know that's hard. So there are a handful of things that I am taking away for my friends and family who are asking me this question. The first one is if you know, and a lot of people know they have a food sensitivity, they're like, oh,
mhm,
that doesn't sit well with me, or like I break out when I eat this food. Like it's hard, but try not to think like when I break out because of a food, I'm now like, oh shit, that breakout, like that's not a small thing. Like if it's coming to my skin, if it's coming to the surface, like that's not
right,
good. So
right,
if you know you have a food sensitivity, you will change the way you feel if you avoid it entirely.
right. Well, and, mine is baker's yeast, and, like, it's not as bad as, like, a gluten intolerance because, obviously, not everything that has baker and not everything that has gluten has baker's yeast in it, so,
Right.
like,
Right.
it's bread, like, normal bread, most pizza, and, like, sandwiches that aren't on sourdough bread, so it's not like t 1 bagels. So it's not,
Yeah.
like, terrible, but it's annoying.
No, it's annoying
Um,
because you
and
love
when
those
I
foods and you want to,
and
but
when I do eat it, I feel like fucking garbage. Like,
right.
I just
And that's
it's
your body.
bad.
So like this, I guess another aspect of holistic nutrition is helping people relearn to communicate with their body because a lot of the times, and especially in women's health, which is like a little bit of a segue, but I'm just like obsessed with understanding like why the female body is not studied or understood. Like all of these studies are like men's blood sugar was raised
Of
and like okay,
course
what
it
about women?
is.
So one thing about that is like teaching people to like listen to their body. Like our body's gonna fucking tell us what's up. And you listen to that. So that's going to be probably like the biggest change is if you know you have a food sensitivity. If you suspect you have one, the best, I mean, you can get allergy tests. Like I'm about to get kind of like a bigger allergy test because I suspect that I'm maybe a little bit sensitive to like a nut or a seed that's been really hard for me to pin down. So I'm going to get a deeper test, but before I did any of that, I did an elimination diet. And
Yep,
elimination diets are actually the 100% best way to figure out what you're sensitive to. So you basically like cut out the bulk of there are foods that are more generally and more broadly inflammatory for a lot of people. So like soy, gluten, dairy, you cut out nuts, you cut out alcohol, and then you do it for a couple of weeks to let your body reset, and then you slowly reintroduce the foods, like very slowly.
So that you can see which one you react to.
Right. So you can pinpoint it. But the 2 week break of having those inflammatory foods is really to like give your liver a fucking minute and it'll kind of recover itself. My mom's sorry, mom. Anyways, it'll kind of it'll be given an opportunity to heal itself, and then you can
Right.
reintroduce these foods slowly to see what's triggering you. And not to mention, like, what I didn't appreciate at the time before I started this program is like the gut is the second brain. So I think it's like 70% of our serotonin and dopamine is manufactured in our gut, which
Really?
yes, wild. So like anxiety, depression, emotional symptoms of food also, like if you're like I eat something, and so yeah, maybe you don't have a localized like gas, diarrhea, like something like that, but you wake up the next morning and you're just like in the worst mood, or like you're really depressed.
Oh, that's
Like
so
it's
interesting.
interesting, the emotional
Response.
right, it's a big thing. And I mean, you think about it, it's like in my program, I was like, well, duh, like emotional eating is a thing, right?
Right.
Like our brain and our gut are so intricately tied that like we're like, like you have to make sure that that communication stream is optimized. But so don't ignore those types of symptoms as well in terms of food sensitivities. But that's a big one. So like if you already know, or if like you suspect you do, like that's a great way to like figure out, so you can at least, whether or not you make the change in your life day to day, I feel like it's empowering just to
To
know.
know,
Like
right.
I don't want to feel like shit tomorrow. So what should I have, like whatever it is, if you have a big presentation at work or something, I feel like it's good to know.
Right.
Um, the other thing is environmental toxins. And I think that probably this, I think, is the reason why so many people have chronic illnesses in the United States. Like it's
Pesticides?
so present. Yeah. Like, I mean, 100% pesticides, buy organic if you can. Toxins basically get into your system and they become free radicals in your body. And our body has natural detoxification processes that it goes through. Like our bodies are meant to detoxify us. Obviously, we're not meant to eat perfectly all the time. Like our
Right.
body's gonna, see shit that's foreign that it's gonna need to get rid of. But when you have too much and too many, like free radicals floating around in your system, it becomes oxidative stress, which can then kind of send your immune system a little bit haywire. So this is why people are like, eat antioxidant food. Like if you're going to eat your
Mm.
normal diet, like acai and like all those like high antioxidant, like fruits, things like that, because those actually bind to free radicals and help your body eliminate them.
So a thing that I've read about, but I mean, I buy organic when I can.
Right.
And eggs is a big one that I am like pasteurized only. Not pasteurized. Uh, what is the
Grass
word that I'm
fed.
looking for? No, like pasture
Pressure raised.
raised.
Yes.
Yes, that's what I'm looking for. Where like it's because if you say there's cage free, which means they're literally just not in a cage. And then there's another one that's in between that means they just have access to the outside. Like it's a tiny
Yes.
door. I don't
Yes.
remember which one that is. And
Yeah.
then this one is like they actually like are open in the air, hanging out, and then
Yes,
like
right,
lay
and
their
the
eggs.
difference is they're eating they're getting, like, food scraps, or they're eating grasses, or they're eating natural things, whereas, like, a lot of, and this is true of protein as well, like meat, a lot of, corn, soy
And
diets, which
I've
is
read this like for people that, are concerned, like they can't get organic all the time. Like there's the dirty dozen list.
yes.
So it's like if you need a list that's like these are the most important things to buy organic for, like do you abide by the dirty, like do you stand by the
Yes.
dirty dozen list?
I
Okay.
So for me personally, yeah. So the environmental working group has the Dirty Dozen and the Clean 15. The Clean 15 is kind of the reverse. It's like generally like this is a safe to buy, even conventionally.
Right.
My rule and what I'm trying to do, and it's not for everyone because you have to kind of have a lot of time to be able to like sit in a kitchen and figure out what to do with these produce items. But
Mhm.
if I can't find it organic, I don't buy it because I'm like, okay, it's probably out of season and it's probably being shipped and
Mm.
crated. And what happens when you're buying food that's not sourced kind of locally to you or within a certain, mileage, they have to pick, like if it's an apple, they have to pick the apple before it's ripe on the tree in order to ensure that by the time it gets on the grocery store shelf, it's good for you to eat.
Yeah, that's true.
So, but by doing that, you're like, you get, fractions of the nutrients that you ordinarily would.
Yeah. Do
So so buying local, but also buying things like if I'm like, okay, and I can send around a list too. I like just Google that like produce in season, and there's a website
Oh, yeah.
that you
Yeah.
can kind of see what's in season and like get ideas of what you can buy. Because it's hard now because in the US, pretty much everywhere, like we ship from Mexico, like we all sorts of things happen. So like you can pretty much get everything you want any time of the year
Yeah.
for the most part. But it's like that isn't necessarily like the healthiest way to go about it.
I have a little plug for that. I have a friend, who was actually in my sorority, in college. She is a nutrition she's gonna kill me. Either a nutritionist or a registered dietitian. She went to the school, so I think she's an RD.
Probably an RD.
But she wrote a cookbook, called The Essential Vegetable Cookbook, and it
Oh, cool.
has, like, a chart of all of the seasons for, like, this is in spring, these are the vegetables that are in season. In summer, these are the vegetables that are in season, like, saying, like,
Amazing.
you're much better off buying in season and cooking vegetables, I mean, and also having fruit, obviously, in season than you are just, like, picking something random off the shelf for the exact reason that you said, because it's not in season and it's being brought in from somewhere else.
And it was
So
so
I
interesting. So I went to my naturopath this past week, and she was like, she was like, it's winter, eat from the ground, eat root vegetables, eat warming things for your body. It's interesting to think like as I approach like my nutrition now, I'm trying to think about like, okay, like my hunter-gatherer ancestors, like what were they eating now? What did they have access to? And it's interesting how like we're biologically wired in the way that our ancestors were wired. Like
right,
obviously like modern life has changed the way we consume and do things, but it doesn't mean like our bodies. So it was funny because I had like a green smoothie when I walk into her office, and she was like, that's really cold and it's winter. She's like, have some like roast some carrots or have some butternut squash soup, like do something like really
that's
nourishing and
interesting.
warm and like from the ground because it's winter and root vegetables are like the
Can you
focus.
get, like, organic potatoes and organic onions? Are those things?
Yes.
You can?
You can.
And I was, like, thinking about, like, the layout of, like, my grocery store, and I'm like, I know most, like, things you can get organic, but I don't know if I've ever seen, like, a sign that says, like,
Yeah,
organic
I mean, my
potatoes.
general rule, so definitely look at the EWGs lists. I can include them in on the website as well. But another thing is if you don't eat the skin, like obviously like pesticides and toxins can kind of like absorb into like an onion,
But the skin is worse.
but the skin is worse. So if you're not eating the skin, like, and that's not to say that like you should buy an unorganic cucumber and like take the skin off and have that, because actually a ton of nutrients come from the skin of the cucumber. So you don't necessarily want to do that with everything. But if in an ordinary situation you wouldn't be eating the skin, like you're not going to eat the skin of an onion, like the
Right,
outside shell,
right.
like you're not going to eat that. So like that's probably fine.
Interesting.
Those types.
Okay.
That's kind of how I think about it. But those EWG lists are a really good place to start, especially if you're like, well, and it's fucking expensive to buy organic. Like, let's
Right.
be real. Although there was I had another instructor in one of my classes this week, and she was like, what's interesting is when you're working with clients, if they're like, I don't have the money to buy organic, if you tell them to stop buying their soda or like whatever else
They all of a sudden
they'll suddenly have the money. So there are, might have to make
switches.
like concessions here and there, but I generally like those familiarizing yourself with those EWG lists is really great. And that's
Yeah,
all to say, okay, so I guess I've started. So the anti-inflammatory diet, avoiding what you're sensitive to, avoiding toxins, and this includes water. So I didn't appreciate, I've always used a Brita, but that was mainly because I wanted to like have cold water
right.
instead of just like tap. But I kind of grew up and they were like, oh, the tap water's fine. You can look it up. I think there's like another a list you can look up where you can like look by your zip code and figure out how healthy your water is. But like you don't want the water you drink to add toxins to your body. You want the water you drink to help your liver flush and
Right.
kidneys flush toxins. So that's another easy thing to kind of do is just filter your water. And even like if you can, like I will cook like my rice or my quinoa in filtered water instead of tap, just to do that like extra check. And those are kind of like easy things.
Yeah.
Um, and then from like a nutrition standpoint, it's good. The same suggestion basically for all things. I mean, you can take any chronic illness, and these are going to be the way you want to think about your food is avoiding refined, like anything processed. In this case, my joke is white is not right. Like if it's like white rice, like that
White
means
bread.
it's been stripped and bleached. It does not have half the nutrients. So like rice generally isn't bad for you, but like if you're consuming an excess of white rice, like you're really not getting any. It's like empty
Right.
calories at that point. It basically digests like sugar. So
Ugh.
the goal is generally eating more plants, obviously
Whole is
organic
better.
if you can. Yeah, whole food. So like, yeah, like whole grains, like brown rice instead of white rice, like making that swap is going to be better for you. But plants generally are super antioxidant heavy as well. And then they have other vitamins and minerals that like help our bodies like do have certain enzymatic reactions and our immune response and all of those things. So if you're eating a broader nutrient profile, which goes to a little bit what I said about organic food as well, like if you can't find it organic, like try something new that maybe you can find organic. And like we eat with the seasons is kind of like what my naturopath has reminded me, right? Like eat from the ground, like that's what's in season right now. And you'll
Right.
get like a diverse eating diversely, eating with your eyes, eating the rainbow is kind of like the way I think about it as well. So if it's like super
Smart.
colorful and rich, just eat that. But high antioxidant foods can also help if you have like an active chronic illness. So I pulled a few out. So from the fruit spectrum, berries are low in sugar but high in antioxidants. So raspberries, blueberries,
My
blackberries,
fave.
blueberries especially, cherries
Oh,
actually.
those are my least favorite.
Yeah, cherries. There are studies have been shown that cherries can actually lower C-reactive protein levels. CRP is like a general term that doctors can pull from your blood work that it's basically like an inflammatory marker. It's like, oh, inflammation is happening if your CRP levels are raised. So
Interesting.
cherries are good for that. What else do I have on the fruit side? I mean, I guess technically avocados are a fruit, but avocados are great for that. On the other important thing is as you're eating the appropriate, if you do eat meat, eating well sourced meat. We kind of spoke a little bit about like the beef
Right.
and chicken, but fatty fish is probably like the best for you because they're super high in omega-3 fatty acids, which are the fatty acids that help moderate your immune responses. So I eat a lot of salmon, sardines, and anchovies are also on the list, which are not my
Ugh.
fave.
Nope.
But salmon, just go for salmon.
I imagine you are a proponent of wild caught.
Oh, 100%. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because what you're getting when something's farmed is you're getting, and I don't know that this necessarily happens so much with fish because it's harder. Like with cows, like you're getting antibiotics, like literally like 70%, it's some high 60 maybe percent of the antibiotics sold in the US go to farms, like
Oh my
factory
God.
farms, because they literally inject the cow. So you're when you eat factory farmed meat like that's not pasture raised, that's like, you know, the worst animal health crisis you could think of. When you're eating that, you're literally eating the antibiotics that get injected into them. Like we are what we eat and the cows are what they eat. So like
Ugh.
thinking about it, it's gross.
Right.
So it's not, I don't think as prevalent in like the seafood realm, but it's still like if they're farm raised, they're being given diets that are not natural
Right.
and they're probably not as nutrient dense.
Yeah.
Then cruciferous veggies, which is what I think of as anything that's crunchy, so like broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, those are all really high in antioxidants. Bell peppers are really high in
Mm.
antioxidants. Green tea, if anyone's a tea drinker, even if like it's just like a decaf, is
That's
really
your favorite, right?
it's really good.
Green
Yeah,
tea.
really good for you. Although I haven't been drinking as much of it because I'm a freak and I've been like loving lemon water, like just a shit ton of lemon. And I don't know
Yeah,
what
you
that
are a
says about
freak.
me. um, but also turmeric as a spice. I know everyone talks about turmeric so much. Um, I add it to like my salad dressings and like you hardly taste it. It's
Oh,
kind of like an earthy.
interesting.
Yeah, I just like if I mix up my own salad dressing, I'll like sprinkle turmeric in it.
That's the yellow one, right?
Yeah, really bright. Also it's good on carrots. So like just like generally like thinking of herbs and spices also as having these like they're not add-ons, like they actually have a lot
Right.
of anti-inflammatory benefits, but turmeric especially. Olive oil is actually a really good antioxidant. And for those of you that have a sweet tooth, dark chocolate is actually really good for you as long as it's at least 70% cacao. So it has to be like a dark 70%
Actually, a
cacao,
really dark chocolate.
really dark
Right.
chocolate, but it has antioxidants, so it's good for you. So that's
That's
kind of it. I
important.
mean, obviously the change in diet is a big lifestyle change. So like making small,
Right.
that's why I kind of I led with okay, if you're allergic to something or have a sensitivity, get rid of that, and then get rid of toxins as much as you can.
Right.
And I think that will it will at least give your body a little bit of time to like recover naturally. But then if you have a choice, like eat whole foods, don't eat white things all the time. Like you have to have mainly vegetables
Right.
on your plate.
Right. Well, that's something I need to work on a little bit. I'm not the best vegetable eater.
Well, I mean, you can start small by being like, okay, I'm just gonna like make this. I don't know. Make sure your meal at least has a vegetable in it.
Right.
Like I
Well, I
was
do
guilty
that.
of like I'm having like a rice bowl and like it has like a bean in it, and I'm like, that's not right. Like, and I'm just trying to like even like I've been starting to do. You can buy like microgreens or like arugula. And just adding that to things like with olive oil,
Interesting.
it's like it's still a green. It's like enough of a green. As long as I have a green on my plate these days,
Right.
I'm counting it a win.
Satisfied.
Right, I'm counting it a win. So it's starting small, obviously, is the most important thing, and like doing what you know is manageable for you.
Right.
But I loved that question because I was like, oh, I'm actually learning about this right now, so this is
Well,
fun.
it's great. Well, and it's great for me because every time I have a question, I'm like, "Can you please answer this?" Like, you're my nutritional Google,
Well,
basically.
but what's funny, what I'm in this program learning is I'm like, no matter what, if someone is like, I have Hashimoto's or I have rheumatoid arthritis, I'm gonna say the same thing.
Yeah.
It's like literally all roads point to
All
inflammation,
encompassing.
and inflammation points to very specific things. So yeah, it's all encompassing. So as long as you're like eating whole foods, sugars are obviously a big culprit as well. I didn't mention that on here, but
That's kind of
limiting
a no-brainer.
well, and if you're eliminating a lot of processed food, you're eliminating
You're
a
gonna
lot
eliminate
of
sugar.
hidden sugar because like people would be shocked that like goldfish, like you told me, like goldfish, like
Insane.
well, because so what started happening, and I listened to this on a podcast the other day, is that long time ago people were afraid of fats, which is a false thing. Don't be afraid of fat. It's all about the quality of fat you consume, but it's not the fat itself. Like
Right.
fat doesn't cause fat. Like that's not
Right.
what it does. But it's bad fats that do. And so people started developing and manufacturers started making like non-fat foods. And in order to make them taste good, they had to add sugar.
Right.
But then it's like,
And then you
but
go
that
into
wasn't even a good suggestion because like our body needs fats actually. Like we need
well, then you go
cholesterol,
into
we
the
need fat.
spiral
Yeah.
of when they're trying to make, like, sugar-free things and you have a bunch of sugar alcohol, which, like, I can't I can't consume anything with sugar alcohol. I feel like absolute garbage. Like, I
I
grew up
probably, if I had like a real Sour Patch. Oh, here's another plug. Jamie and I are addicted to Smart Sweets.
oh,
So
so good.
Smart Sweets, if you're listening and want to sponsor
Also
us,
sponsor us.
I'm literally like you go into my pantry and I'm like it's like going
It's
shopping
a gas
at a gas
station.
station because I have like the gas station like family pack
Boxes.
box thing. Oh my god, no! But
Ben
if
does
I had a
not like the
regular,
fish.
he didn't like the fish.
He thinks they tasted medicine-y.
Oh, I like the fish.
I like the fish too.
I'm
I
curious
like
how
the
you feel
fish.
about the twists. I did not
Oh,
like the Starburst ones.
they came today or they come today. I haven't
Oh
gotten them
yeah,
yet, but
okay,
they
try
come
'em.
today.
They're good texture. They're like nice and soft.
That's important.
Yeah.
I used to really like the peach, and now I'm like, I like them less.
The
But
texture started getting to me. Was it that for you
I
too?
think so.
Yeah.
And the worst, in my opinion, is the watermelon.
Not good at all.
No, really not
Which our
good.
friend who also loves Smart Sweets really likes. But Smart Sweets, if you need like taste testers, like we're down to come
We're
to
here.
down to come to Canada,
We're
and
very down to come to Canada.
women owned business. Fuck yeah, we're
Is
down.
it?
Yeah,
Oh, that's amazing.
at least I think I heard that. I hope I'm not wrong. But
Um,
if I no to answer your question about sugar alcohols, if I tried to eat a regular Sour Patch Kid right now, I don't know what my body would do.
oh, see, I could still eat it 'cause I'm not that far removed from garbage eating, but,
No, but it would be so delicious. But like, would I feel like shit? Like I
oh,
don't know.
probably.
Yeah. So sorry, that was a very long segment, but I hope everyone liked it, and I'll continue just like ask if as people send me questions. People can also just like DM me, and I can
Right, or
like
email us. We still haven't
email.
gotten any
Yeah, it's
emails
super
from
fun.
anybody.
Yeah,
Our inbox is empty except for our editor.
Jamie's like the only one that checks it. I'm like, wait, say what?
Well, it comes to my phone, so I see it, and I'll just be like, "Hey, this is a thing."
Okay, and to pivot, what are we doing? Enneagram? Which one?
2.
Dose. Oh no, this is your reckoning.
Yeah, it was bad. Like I mean, I obviously know all of these things, but as I'm like putting it into one sheet, oh my God, it was rough.
I
It was
can't
really
wait.
rough.
I can't wait. The
Um,
one-liners that you start with are my favorite.
oh, they're so good. Well, and the other thing that's funny is I feel like a lot of women actually, I mean, Kate, our friend, a few of our friends have think that they've or have mistyped as twos. It is a common mistype of women just because women are like, sort of naturally inclined to have this
Like
sort of
nurturing. Yeah,
nurturing, sort of motherly, taking care of outlook and attitude on life.
right.
So they are like, well, this is me. I'm this person. But like, that doesn't mean that every other type doesn't have that. It's just like not your entire.
It is interesting to think about genders. Like, do you know a
Mhm.
male too?
I do. Um,
And how is it like, it's so interesting to think about that.
I do. He's very different than female twos.
Yeah, okay.
It's very strange.
Got it.
All right. So the Enneagram 2 bingo starts with, quote, let me do that for you. Takes care of the dishes, has people over for dinner, hears the life stories of strangers. How many texts are too many texts to send in a row? All I need is a thank you. Relationships are life. Dessert, quote, yes, and quote, hey, are we good? Like when I tell
Hey,
you,
are we good is really something.
yeah, is really something. Like the two that resonated with me the most are here's the life stories of strangers. Like I can't even
Mhm.
tell you how many, I mean, and it's fine because it's just like my personality and it's my mom's also. Like people just like feel compelled to tell me things. Like I don't know like what it is exactly, but like it has always been like a part of my life where people just like tell me things. Like it just is. And it
And then
happens
you
to my
have
mom
the
too.
burden of what they told you, and you're like,
Right.
so much.
Yeah. And it happens to my mom too. My mom will like hear the life story of somebody in like line at the grocery store. My dad's like, what the fuck is happening? Like, what is happening? And then the other one is hey, are we good? I am constantly, as you know, like, "Oh my god, does this person hate me?" Which is like you wouldn't assume that by talking to me. Like I outwardly exhibit like not that.
Right, you're
But
confident, independent, like, you're like, "Whatever, do I'm doing me."
well, that was actually a conversation Ben and I had last night. He was like, "Yeah, your outward personality is that you are capable and good at making decisions when in reality I'm actually crippled by it." Like to the point that I could not pick a paint color on my wall and more or less Ben had to decide for me even though I was allowed to choose it for myself.
Oh
So,
my
yeah.
god.
And I actually so the other one that we normally do is how the type flies. The 2 really didn't resonate with me. It was basically like being, like, very motherly to a child that was flying alone. I
Oh,
would never. I
no,
literally would never.
mm-mm.
Um, so there was another one that I thought was better, and it was how twos fuck up their love life. And it was, "Why am I the only one who ever gives anything to this relationship?" And I was like, "Oh, wow, that really hits home."
Yep. You're
Because
like, "I've
I
said
mean
that before out loud."
right, there are a lot of 2s, that feel like they're giving more than they're getting, and if you're, on, like, the average unhealthy side, you're gonna be resentful of that instead of just, like, altruistically doing it. You're gonna feel like a
Right.
martyrdom, like, "But look at me, look what I," and I'm like that, like, I'm like, "Ugh, but look what I did for you." I'm sure when Ben hears this, he'll be like, "Yeah, you fucking are like that." Um, so the main name for the 2 is the helper. Other names are the giver, the lover, the hidden warrior, the parent. Like this is the thing. Like 2 is the least sexy type. Let me just tell you, like you're going to hear it's so like unflattering and like eh, I like read it and I'm like, God, can I be something else? Can I just be something else?
Right.
Okay, so characteristics: caring, interpersonal, generous, demonstrative, but also potentially people-pleasing and possessive. Quote, every group of friends has a mom, and that mom is usually a 2. which like is very much me.
Remember
Um,
that a few episodes ago when we talked about like air traffic controller for like friend vacations?
yeah, that's me for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Quote, a two with a martyr complex thinks that in order to be capital G good, they have to deny themselves their wants and wishes and just spend themselves in service of other people or the divine or who the fuck ever. Basically, like they just feel like they need to be doing things
Doesn't
or
matter
they're
who you are, right?
right. Yeah. Um, yeah, so they're well-meaning and they're driven to be close to other people, but they can slip into doing things for others in order to be needed, like to feel like that's their purpose. Like if they're not needed, then they're not worthy and they're not,
Yeah.
they're not going to be loved basically.
So sad.
Um
Oh, are we
along
getting
with
to the childhood belief yet? Oh,
oh
it's
yep,
nice when
we're
it says that.
really close.
Ugh.
Along with fours, the most romantic of the Enneagram types are twos, which does not
Oh,
surprise me in any way because I mistyped as a four for a little bit. Um
is it like romantic as in like actually doing things or like idealistic romantic?
But I mean, both. I mean, probably more idealistic, but, like, I would appreciate more romance, and fives are, like, the least romantic
Say
type,
it
so
louder for the people in the back, Jamie.
I'm just saying. I'm just saying. Okay,
Hey,
so the basic
hey, Ben, did
fear
you hear that?
yeah, you probably did.
Yeah.
Um, Basic fear is of being unwanted and unworthy of being loved, so their basic desire is to be loved, obviously. The unconscious childhood message is it's
Oh,
not okay to have your own needs. I know, it's really sad, and,
stop.
like, I was thinking about it, like, I struggle with the unconscious childhood message, some people obviously relate to it a lot more than
Right.
others. I don't really relate to that, I mean, like, I could probably a therapist could probably, like, dive
Do
in
you
and
think
be
it's a
like,
big
"Well"
sister thing though?
potentially,
Like in some
yeah,
level, even though it doesn't resonate fully with you, like you still had someone under you in some
right,
way. So like your needs never necessarily came first, depending, I guess.
right, right, I mean, maybe, yeah, I don't know, but it's not I don't always, like, resonate with, like, dive back into
Yeah.
the childhood, but a lot of people do.
Yeah.
Um So they are the overview of the type is they're the most genuinely helpful. They are people are drawn to them like bees to honey, is what the Enneagram Institute said. Millenniagram's quote about twos was for twos, other people's boundaries can kind of just be speed bumps, which is so true. I'm
Uh,
just kind of like, hey, I'm gonna like infiltrate your life. Like
right. Right.
here we are,
Oh,
which is the next
that's just okay. You're putting a boundary up. Okay, that's not one. It's just a
no,
speed
I'm not
bump.
into that.
I love that.
Um,
So
Twos
funny.
can infiltrate lives and create complicated friend networks at truly mind-boggling rates. Twos development may be limited by pride, becoming over-involved in people's lives, and the tendency to manipulate others to get their own emotional needs met. Um, so I mean, it is a balance of doing it helping altruistically and wanting to, provide for someone altruistically or doing it
Yeah.
to be like, "Hey, did you
Look
know
what
that
I
I
did.
just paid it forward and, paid for
Right.
the person behind me?" Like, there's
Right.
you have the dichotomy of that. Um, and the ending section for in Millenniagram for a type 2 is it's not some cliche that you have to put on your own oxygen mask first. It's literally the only way that anyone's gets on. So like if you're I mean for twos, like it's the saying if you can't pour from an empty cup, like you
Yeah.
can't help unless you're paying attention to like what's going on in your life.
Right.
You're
Right.
fucking
Like pay
useless.
attention. Take care of yourself. Yeah.
Right. So we are now in the feeling triad. So 9 and 1 were in the gut instinct. And 2, 3, and 4 in the feeling. Which is concerned with self-image and they seek attention. So twos direct their self-image outward, threes do it both inward and outward, and fours do it inward. So like
Hmm.
2 is the outward expression. We talked briefly last time about like the social styles. Twos are the same as one, which is they are compliant, which means that they earn the attention that they want. They think that they need to do things for people to earn
Hmm.
the attention. And their coping style is the positive outlook, which I think it's the same as sevens. 2, 7, and 9 is positive outlook. I am not maybe I'm just like an anomaly. I'm not that person. I'm not, oh, like I'll see the silver lining in something. It's just not who I am.
Yeah.
But I did read the main defense mechanism of a two is repression. Like you're gonna like that shit is gonna sit and then you are gonna explode
Explode.
like a volcano, which like, Yeah, that happens. Um, so the wings, which is everyone's favorite, there's actually much more subtle differences in the two wings than maybe any other type because like
Mm,
nine wing eight and nine wing one are very different,
yeah.
and one wing two and one wing nine are also pretty different. But two wing one and two wing three aren't drastically different. So two wing one is the servant. They bring the perfectionist eye to the helpfulness of a two. Quote, they want to be the most best at whatever it is you need.
The most best.
Um, they
Hostess with the
combine
mostess.
they combine warmth with the seriousness of purpose, and they are more overt caretakers than two wing three. They are often found in teaching, public service, healing professions, and humanitarian work. Some examples are Mother Teresa, Desmond Tutu, and Florence Nightingale.
Okay.
Yeah. Two wing ones, got it going
You gotta be
on.
proud of that.
Wait till you get, so I'm either balanced wings or a two wing three,
Yeah.
which is the hostess. Wants to be a helper, but wants to also be seen as one too. A consummate host, making sure everyone at the dinner party or the event is having the goddamn time of their lives. Um, can become champions of the downtrodden or marginalized and seek love through personal connections. I can't even tell you. This is why I'm saying twos are the least sexy. The most famous people that the book could come up with for Two Wing 3 are John Denver and Arsenio Hall.
Uh,
Like, those are
uh,
probably the only 2 names that people would have even recognized on the list. So,
that's pretty funny, actually.
yeah, it's interesting. But it just goes to show you that, like, there's not a lot of famous 2s. Like, I mean, you have, like, obviously, like,
Mhm.
Desmond Tutu, Mother Teresa, you have, the humanitarians, but we're just not a famous bunch. Um So then we have the 3 subtypes or the instinctual variants that we've always talked about: self-preservation, social, and sexual. The self-preservation in a 2 is called the soccer mom. They can't stop wearing
Again,
themselves
least sexy, although can be
least
sexy.
but
You can be
least
a hot
sexy.
soccer mom. You can be a hot soccer mom.
Can't stop wearing themselves ragged and then are pissed that they're ragged. They want to be loved for just existing. They are
But
they are
same. But same.
Right. They are pleasure seeking, often dependent on others. They are more guarded than the other subtypes, can sometimes appear as a 4, and they are especially prone to feelings of martyrdom. And they get, if they're in their unhealthy phase, they have food obsessions, and hypochondria are pretty common for this subtype, which is
Mm,
interesting because it's the attention aspect of it.
interesting.
Um, Social, which is what I am, is the indispensable slash everyone's friend.
Yep.
So very social, very connected, never met a stranger, aware of their public image and focused on serving environments, more introverted than the other subtypes, which I thought was interesting because I come off as very extroverted, and I am like, I need people, but I do also really like my time in my house. Like,
Yeah.
I'm not like,
When you
I don't recharge.
recharge,
Right,
right.
I'm not recharging at a party, like, at
Yeah,
all.
fuck that. Yeah, no.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Um, Quote, "Where would you be without me?" And they are often social type 2s are often mistyped as 7s,
Mm.
which, like, I thought was so interesting because of your mistype from before.
Interesting, because I probably would have been a social like,
Right,
if I still was a 2, that probably was how I would have identified.
right, which I thought that, yeah, I thought that was interesting. And the last one is, sexual, and they are intimacy junkies. They concentrate on particular and ongoing one-on-one relationships. They are seductive and flattering, and they have the hardest time letting go of a love that isn't working. They can also look like a 3 or a 4. The way that when they described intimacy junkies, they said like the Enneagram Institute said that they are the most like type
Mm,
2, sexual type 2s are like the most intense in terms of like one-on-one relationships. Like they're in it. I don't know if I know
interesting.
any, to be perfectly
Yeah,
honest,
it's really
but
interesting.
um it'll be on this will be on the site. I'm not gonna go through all of the, healthy levels are 1 through 3, average levels are 4 through 6, unhealthy is 7 through 9. I do think it is interesting that at the bottom, a level 9 too, which is, like, at its unhealthiest, are bitterly resentful and angry, and it corresponds to histrionic personality disorder, which I thought was interesting.
Cool. That's is
But
there's a
you'll
strong
have
enough like correlation with it where they can say that. That's wild.
that's yeah. So yeah, there's all the little tidbits of each type, but I would be talking forever. In stress, twos suddenly become aggressive and dominating like unhealthy eights, switching to a fierceness that can feel off-putting to people who have known them to be sweet and accommodating. Weird.
Like you said, the
The
like
pent up.
boiling over. Yeah.
Yep. So twos can be surprisingly aggressive and argumentative when, people see them as this like, oh, like they're nice and like they're always being friendly and whatever.
Right.
However, in health, prideful, self-deceptive twos become more self-nurturing and emotionally aware like healthy fours, which is why it was not surprising to me that I was mistyping as a four.
Mhm.
Um, and it also said that healthy twos can resemble the joie de vivre of sevens. So, like, I remember when I
There are
was
correlations for sure.
yeah, I remember I was, like, so upset that, like, that you were so mistyped. Now like, seeing these things, I feel a little bit better
Yeah,
that, like,
no,
there are
I was like, no, that because in that book that you gave me, it was like they kept pointing out the similarities between twos and sevens, which you've just talked about. So
yeah.
it was an
So,
easy
some
mistake
other
to make.
examples of type 2s in history that weren't labeled as having wings are, Pope John the 22nd, Desmond oh, yeah, I said Desmond Tutu, Eleanor Roosevelt, Nancy
Mm.
Reagan, Richard Simmons, Lionel Richie,
Richard Simmons.
Stevie Wonder, Dolly Parton, Elizabeth Taylor, Martin Sheen.
Oh, Elizabeth
So
Taylor and Dolly are cool.
yeah, well, I don't know if they're a type 2 wing 3 though.
But
These
still
were
type
not
two. I
wing
mean, come
people.
on.
Yeah,
It's
yeah, but yeah,
sexy.
Arsenio Hall, me and Arsenio. Um, so that was the type 2 deep dive. It was really rough to do if I'm being honest, as I'm like I was reading all of the things and there's so much more that you can include. There's,
Right.
books that I didn't even open to put in here. But we the whole
You had
podcast.
to put your boundaries up.
Well, also, and like the podcast it would just be about the Enneagram if I, went through
Right,
everything.
right.
But it was like going through your own type is really
At least it's
something.
over. At least you got it over with. Now smooth sailing.
Right, now we're fucking done. 8 will be
Cruising.
next. 8 will be next. I know a couple of 8s, and I think 8s are kick-ass. I'm trying to think if I know any 8s that I don't like. No, I don't think so. Ben's boss is an 8. He's great.
So cool.
Yeah.
I'm
So
excited. I love this little segment.
yeah, so that's where we're at. I'm glad that's done. God, it was really something to just see all my flaws on like,
Right,
every page that I
right,
turned.
right.
But speaking of pages, what are you reading and watching?
I am reading actually. Well, so I'll talk about I'm reading two things. I have so many health books that I'm trying to get
Oh,
through that
yes,
are
you're
not
reading
part
a
of
lot
my
of
like
things.
school curriculum. But again, I'm really interested in women's health lately and with my own people can DM me about this, my own cycle menstruation issues. I'm reading a book called Fix Your Period.
Hmm?
6 weeks to banish bloating, conquer cramps, manage moodiness, and ignite lasting hormone
Can I
balance.
see the cover?
You can.
Oh, that's a nice cover. It's
Yeah, it's
pink
cute. So
and
it's actually
cute.
interesting because the author of this is also like a holistic nutritionist, but she kind of had a similar path to me where it was like a little bit later in life,
Right.
like or she didn't do it right out of school. But it's cool. And the woman who I talked about this book all the time, Dr. Jolene Brighton, Beyond the Pill, she
Yeah.
wrote the foreword to this book, so it's kind of cool.
Yeah.
But for my fiction read, and I think you're gonna really like this one, and I think you have it on your shelves actually. So I
Okay.
feel like we talked about it a while ago as maybe like a JLo read spec, but based in
R.I.P.
part in Japan. Yeah, RIP. It's called 50 Words for Rain.
I do. Yes. So that's my last literati sponsorship
Right.
pick.
And I don't remember how I even heard about this, but it's a debut novel for this author.
Okay. Oh, it's a GMA pick per that
Yes,
sticker.
it is a GMA pick, and it's a little. I mean, it's long. It's like 400 something pages. I probably have like 30 pages left in it. Oh yeah,
Okay.
it's less than 500, but it's like a big book. But
It's a big one.
I really like it. I'm
And
like
when is it set?
huh? What
It's
where is it
when
set?
No, it's in
or when,
Japan. When?
kind of around like World War II timing. So like it
Okay.
starts like you start in 1948, and then you go into the 50s.
Oh, so post World War II.
Post World War II. Yeah, sorry, like literally right after,
Okay.
basically. But
Interesting.
they reference the war a lot.
Oh,
Um,
I mean, that
and
makes
then it goes
sense.
like through the 60s, I think.
Oh,
Yeah, so it's like
cool.
a little bit of a generation. Yeah.
So you think I'm
Anyways,
gonna like it?
I think you're gonna like it. It's been fun for me to read. It was a little there was a moment in time where I was like, okay, where is this going? Like the story could have ended, which would be like my only complaint. But I have like 30 pages left, and I'm curious how it ends. So I'm
Okay. Oh, I'm
still
pumped
I'm still intrigued.
because
Yeah, but I
it is
don't.
on my heart
I'm probably gonna need help deciding what I read next because I just
because
cannot
you're
with my
overwhelmed
books.
of how many options you have.
Uh-huh. I might
Uh-huh.
literally just take a photo of my stack and put it on
And then point
Instagram and
to
just
one.
have someone tell me what to read.
Smart. Have one of our friends do it.
I
She's
know, I know.
excellent at that.
What are you reading though?
So, since we last talked, I finished Anxious People, which was
Mhm.
my first book of 2021. It was, we said the either liked or loved. I liked. The ending was just chef's kiss. It
So
was
good. I
so
know.
good. It was such a well done ending.
Yeah.
It made the whole book like obviously like worth it. Not that I thought it was a bad read, but like the ending was just like
Yeah, no, I kind of felt the same as you. It wasn't his, like, best work for me, but the ending was, like, such a tied it up with a little bow, and it was so satisfying and
right.
so
It was so right. I'm a
yeah,
big bow tire, so like
yeah.
yeah, it was excellent.
It was a good way
I'm
to start off 2021, right?
Yeah, it
Yeah,
was good. It was a
yeah.
perfect start.
'Cause you, like, laugh, like, it's kinda funny, like, it's good.
Yeah, no, it was good. I'm also in the middle of, Wow, No, Thank You by Samantha Irby, which is very good. I'm like I kind of stopped in the middle to pick up another book, but, the first essay, I was, like, literally cackling to myself,
No,
like,
they're
just
really funny. That's one of those books that I have on my bedside table, and if I just need, like, a little palate cleanser, I, like, pick it up. So it's gonna take me forever to get through it because 'cause I'm not,
but
like
it's nice, like, it's
yeah,
great.
but it's nice to have.
I'm also in the middle of The Brilliant Life of Eudora Honeysett, which
Mm,
is
mhm.
precious.
Oh, really?
It's so cute. I'm probably like a third of the way through. It's really
Good.
cute. I'm enjoying it. And I just haven't been like in a reedy mood. I'm just kind of like, I
Okay,
don't
so
know.
then what are you watching?
Oh, but one more book I
Okay.
did finish. It's my most recent review. It was called Take It Back.
Mhm.
Um, it's been sitting with me for like since I finished it a week ago.
Wow.
Like, and I wouldn't even say like, "Oh my god, it's like the best book." Like,
No,
it's
but
good.
it moved you, like, it left you thinking.
Yeah, so the general premise is, there's a British Muslim woman who, was a lawyer and quit her job to be sexual crimes victim advocate, um, and she's helping out with a case
Wow.
where a disabled white girl was allegedly raped by 4 Muslim boys.
Whoa.
And she's Muslim, and so it's a he she said, they said, and, like, you kind of it's this back and forth, in the dichotomy of her culture,
I was gonna
and
say the cultural whoa,
right, so,
that's
like, should she be defending her culture? Should she not be involved in this? It was very interesting, and, the
fictional,
anxiety
right? It's not
yeah, fictional.
okay.
The anxiety I got when I was and it's not a thriller, it's really just like a courtroom drama.
Right.
Um, the Ben was sitting next to me when I was reading it. The anxiety that I got when I was reading this book, I can't even explain to you. And it's not even that like I read plenty of books that involve sexual assault that aren't like quote unquote triggering to me, even
Mhm,
though they could be. For
mhm.
whatever reason, this was like putting me through the roof. And I was, like, reading, and I was like, "Oh my god, how is this gonna end? What's happening?" And Ben was like, "Get it together. Like,
That's
relax."
good though. I mean, when writers can do that, like, get you
Yeah,
in the story that much and have you have all those feelings, like, I have such an appreciation for that.
right, and that's the crazy thing, it's not like I left the book being like, "Oh my god, I loved this book." But I mean, I'm still, like, thinking about it,
You're
which is
like, "But
really
did I love it?" I probably did love it. I just maybe wouldn't read it again because it was so anxiety inducing.
right, well, and I think that's part of it, it's just like, right, you can't overlook, like, how much anxiety you felt, but, like, obviously, that's the mark of a good book, right? Like, if
Right.
I'm not normally talking
Like,
about
sitting with you
books.
still. Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah. So, and in addition to that, that book and Eudora Honeysett and 2 other ones that I have on my list, I got from the library.
Oh, look
I'm
at you. Do you
I'm
have a
really
library card? Can
trying.
I see it? I
I
wanna see
don't
your
have
li
it's only on my phone because I you couldn't, like, go in to get one, so I
Oh,
just have
yeah,
the
yeah,
barcode.
yeah.
But I have a bunch of books on hold, and you can, like, pause your holds for, like, when you're ready,
So
and
advanced.
yeah, it's, like it's really I mean, it's nice, and it's, like I mean, I should have been using it a long time ago, my book carts would look nothing like they do now,
Right,
but, like, it's nice, like, if you love a book, you can go buy the hardcover, and if you don't, it doesn't matter because it's going back to the library.
right, I
Um,
know, it is nice. I
yeah, so
struggle because
I'm
sometimes I'm like, "But I wanna support this author," but you're right, I mean, if you love it, you can still buy it, so
right, and so, yeah, it's kind of my mentality at the moment is if, like, I'm not, like, dying to make sure this is on my shelf, um, I'm not pre-ordering it, I'm gonna wait until I can read it at the library.
No, someone was telling me the other day, and I've never been super savvy with, like, my reading lists, like my Goodreads shelves,
Mhm,
which I don't
yeah.
even, like, really use Goodreads anymore, but she has a watch list and then a to-read list, and she
What's a
puts
watch?
the watch list is like, okay, I see I'm intrigued. And then if like more people start reviewing it and like really love it, then she'll move it off of the watch list. But she kind of like basically like temperature
Mm.
checks. Like, yeah, okay, is this something I really want to read or not? And there is, I mean, in my mind, I'm like, okay, I'm interested in that, but I'm not gonna buy it yet. So I guess that's my way of like almost doing a watch list where it's like I'm not gonna like instant buy.
I
But
put them on my Goodreads to read list, and then what I'll do is every so often I'll sort them by average rating and do it in reverse, so, like, the lowest average rating is at the top,
mhm,
and if it's, like, 3.5 or below, I'm probably not reading it, to be perfectly honest,
yeah,
because, like,
yeah,
the there's too many good books that are getting, like, well above 4 stars
right,
that, like,
right,
I just don't have
right. I'm
time.
like less I worry about the star ratings because
I know.
sometimes I like books that people don't like. So I'm like, I don't know, I can't go buy it off all the time, but it's smart because there's so many books on
Well, and to your point, like, I don't do it all the time, but I am much more hesitant to, like, pick up a book that's, like, rated 3 stars that I'm, like,
right,
meh on in the
right.
first place, you
Totally,
know?
totally.
Okay, so what are you watching?
So we just finished,
Lupita Nyong'o?
yes, it's over. We watched 5 seasons and now it definitely is coming back. Like, I feel like the ending has to be coming
Like,
back.
it's gonna get a 6th season?
I think it has to. I think, yeah, because 2020 was the 5th season. So
Okay.
I think fingers crossed.
Did you love it?
Um, Yes, I'm like for some reason, I'm so into it, and I started it's inspired me to get back on my Duolingo,
Oh,
and so I'm,
yeah.
like, kind of doing, like, my little French on the side. I mean, I've done it, like, 1 day this week, so, like, let's not get excited.
Um,
But
okay,
anyway,
what
so that's over, season 5. Alex and I are having kind of an existential crisis because we don't know what to
you're in
watch
a TV
next,
show hangover.
but I have had no time to watch, so I'm so bad lately because if I'm by myself watching TV, I'm literally watching The Housewives because it's, like,
Right.
really interesting to
Mindless.
me. It's mindless. The Salt Lake City Housewives, I'm, like, really intrigued by. Um,
I told you about that. I need to, like so it's
yeah,
worth the watch.
it's worth a
This
watch.
would be
It's, like,
my
kind of interesting. Like, I'm
this would be my first Housewives experience.
yeah, it's interesting. I think you should watch it. There are a couple of the women I actually really like. I'm like, "Oh, I'd probably be friends with her," like, which I've never said about any housewife, basically. Um, but but I haven't watched The Crown's new season. Like, I have things like that I'm kind of dying for a period piece. So maybe I'll start The Crown by myself if I ever
That's what we're watching right now. So we normally have a show, like, basically the same way, like, we have a show we watch together, and then Ben watches a lot more TV than me, so he'll have shows that, like, he watches on his own that I won't care, like, if I'm
Right.
missing. So the show we're watching together is The Crown, and he is, like, singularly unpumped by that, does not give a fuck about The Crown, like,
Alex,
he's,
like,
like,
liked
basically half
it in
watching.
the beginning when we kind of watched it together, and then it slowly transitioned to that show that I just watched by myself because he didn't care.
Right.
So
So and actually, the other night was it yesterday? No, I think it was, like, Thursday, we were trying to find something to watch together that wasn't The Crown, he was, like, not ready to, like, watch another episode. Um, have you heard of the show Miracle Workers?
no.
It is with Steve Buscemi and Daniel Radcliffe. So the premise, at least for the first season, is, Steve Buscemi is God,
Okay.
and it's like a workplace comedy. Like, all the other people are angels, and they made it to heaven, and now that, like, God is their boss.
Okay.
And, like, it was so well written, but he's also God is like a nightmare. He's like a drunk, like, he can't read, like all of these things.
Oh my
And it's
God.
so funny and it was really good for the first season. And then the second season is a totally different show. Like it's still the same characters, but now they're in the dark ages and like Steve Buscemi is like a guy that shovels horse shit.
Wait,
Like,
and did they connect the 2 seasons at all?
no.
Like, you just suddenly they drop you in the dark ages and you, like, don't know what the fuck's going on. That
Right,
is
like, literally the first season is called Miracle Workers, and it's apparently based on a book, and, the second season is called Miracle Workers: The Dark Ages, and, like, it's totally different. It's the same people, but,
that's
like, the
so
same
weird.
actors and actresses, but they're totally different roles. So,
How
like,
is Daniel Radcliffe in a comedy?
he wasn't, like, funny. Like, but he was like, his character, at least in the first season, wasn't really supposed to be funny. He was supposed to be neurotic, and he
Okay,
was
okay, okay,
neurotic.
okay, okay. Yeah.
Um, yeah, he did a
It'd
good
just
job
be
being
so
neurotic.
weird to see, like, him in that setting.
It was weird. But, like, he was playing a crazy neurotic person, and, like, he did that fine.
Great.
So, like, yeah, but I think the first season is definitely worth a watch. Like, we started watching the second season, and we're kind of like, What is
So
happening here?"
bizarre.
It was really
Is
bizarre.
it
If
on
anyone
Netflix?
understands it, HBO.
HBO, okay.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
It was originally on TBS, and Ben was like, "I think the reason that it was on TBS originally is because, like, you couldn't put God as, like, a drunk on, like, regular, like, NBC, ABC. Like, it was not
That's
family
funny,
friendly."
actually. Didn't think
So
about that.
yeah, that's what we're watching at the moment. I don't think I'm trying to think if there's
I need,
anything
like,
else.
an infusion. I need, like, a fucking wonderful show. So someone tell me if they have a wonderful show. DM me because Alex and I are
Well,
like,
when are we also need to watch Bridgerton.
oh yeah, we
There's
should watch Bridgerton. See, these are the things that Alex like is gonna give 2 fucks about, so I can't. Yeah. Well,
yeah. So we have something else to announce, sort of. Once a month, we will be reading a book and at least briefly talking about it on the podcast. We don't want to make it too much of like a big discussion, like with how our Instagram JLo Reads lives were. But we do want to like keep reading and like if anyone wants to read along with us,
yeah, we got
tell
a
you
lot
what.
of feedback after JLo reads that people were bummed because they liked the books that we picked and they were kind of off the beaten path. So we're gonna, I think, try to probably keep bringing up books that maybe not everyone's talking about.
Yeah, because it's just us now.
It's just us.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Although I think the first one that we're doing is not
Not
like
so
so,
that
yeah.
spec. Yeah, that's
So
for
it's
sure.
Uncomfortable Conversations with a Black Man, Emmanuel Acho. God, I should have been able to
Acha.
know.
I think it's
Yeah.
Acha, yeah.
Emmanuel Acho. Normally we will announce a month in advance. So like the first February episode, we'll tell you what it'll be in March, but we just sort of decided this. So we will be discussing it the next episode, but it's a pretty short read. It looks like it'll be pretty quick.
Yep.
But if you guys want to read along, please
Pick
feel
up your
free.
copy.
And it's not going to be, full of spoilers or if it's going to be there's not really spoilers to that kind of book, but if there's going to be some massive spoiler, we'll let you know and you can skip ahead 30 seconds. But a lot of it is just going to be like, quick little discussion and, give people an opportunity to still read the books that we had kind of been selecting for JLo
Mhm.
Reads
See if it's
without
your
JLo Reads.
flavor.
Yeah, it's a JLo Reads taste, basically.
Yes,
But yeah, so
cool.
Uncomfortable Conversations with the Black Man, next episode, which is the first Thursday of February. So whatever date that is,
Yep,
you'll
I have no
you'll be
fucking
hearing it.
idea. I don't
Nope.
even know what day it is right now, to be honest.
Okay.
All right,
Well,
guys. Well,
will
as
there ever be
always, email us with your
please
try
email
saying that out loud moments. No one emails us, so we
ever.
only talk about ourselves the entire time. Which I
Yeah,
guess everyone's probably rolling their eyes because why are 2 white girls starting a podcast if not to just hear themselves speak?
100%.
Fair. I
It's
fucking get it.
fine.
We're trying. I just, let's give us some humor. I don't know. Like, have a funny try saying that out loud moment. It would be very refreshing for us.
It would be. There is no more like white girl thing than just starting a podcast in
No
2020.
more white girl thing
No,
than thinking
absolutely
our
not.
voices are this important.
That's what Ben said when we started. He was like, "Okay, do you think you're adding something to the conversation? That's cool. That's really cool of you because
Sweet.
you're not."
You know what, Ben? We're just trying to get human connection in any way we can, okay? It's a pandemic. I'm convinced that's honestly why this podcast exists. All
Happening.
right, people, fucking email us. We're tired of talking to ourselves.
Yep.
If you can
Oh,
fucking believe it.
All right, guys, until next time.
Try saying that out loud.
Bye.